The DOJ tops the bill, Suno stirs the pot, and a new Bundlegate wrinkle. Welcome to the Unlimited Supply Podcast, your daily music business TLDR in your ear, powered by humans living in peace with AI so far, and brought to you by NoDisc, helping music, technology, and finance companies navigate the music industry. It's May 24th, 2024, and I'm Lars Murray. It's a pre-Memorial Day Finance Friday, but before we dive into this shallow money trench, well, the New York Times had it right. The Justice Department made their move against Livenation yesterday. The DOJ took seemingly the only stage Livenation doesn't get a fee for, federal court, and the headlining set includes the hits, allegations of monopolistic behavior, and stifling of innovation. Livenation didn't take it lying down, though, responding that the action, quote, ignores everything that is actually responsible for higher ticket prices. There's a lot of industry reaction, or even pre-action if you're Bob Lefsetz, with multiple industry vets pointing out that the simple fix of firmer regulation of the secondary market might help solve a lot of the pricing issues without forcing a breakup, and some devil-you-know trepidation about what a breakup would unleash and who would be able to provide alternatives. No matter which side you sit on, one thing's for sure, there will be unanticipated and unintended consequences to accompany any significant action. After all, things were much simpler when there was only one phone company. However, that phone company and even its immediate successors couldn't come up with something like the internet or the iPhone. I've put some of these takes from industry experts like Sean O'Connell of Music Allies, Larry Miller of NYU and the Musonomics podcast, and media consultant Seth Schachner in the show notes. On to the latest in the shallow money trench where thieves and pimps run free. Speaking of industry reaction, the $125 million fundraise by generative AI music startup Suno continues to draw more opinions. Virginie Bergère of Matchtunes slammed the venture capital funding Suno, saying there's no ethical way to justify generative AI like this, especially under the guise of the, quote, common good. Sherry Hugh from Water and Music puts the deal in context of other raises in recent years and calls it a watershed moment in VC funding. I'll respect the paywall here. You should check it out. Over in Music Business Worldwide, a very long read by Stef van Voot, excuse me if I pronounced that wrong, the founder of Netherlands-based playlisting company Fruits Music, lays out all the ways AI is already asserting itself in playlisting on Spotify. He lays out a dubious 7-step projected path for rights holders in Spotify that conveniently ignores the fact that, unlike Netflix, Spotify's content creation track record is a flaming pile of wreckage. And until or unless music fandom ceases to be a largely tribal phenomenon, the lack of a flesh and blood totem is going to be at least a very major limiting factor on AI dominance. Gemma Swad from Variety's Take is a little more jaded, drawing parallels to ringtones and live streams, two technologies that have faded in the face of the more authentic flesh and blood creations. There's truth in all of these takes, but the most likely outcome is a combination of all of the above. There's a new wrinkle in Bundlegate. Graham Davis, the head of DEMA, the trade organization that represents the music DSPs or streaming providers, fired back at the NMPA's David Israelite over Bundlegate. If you don't know what Bundlegate is, just go back and binge this week's Unlimited Supply episodes. Davis's pull quote, "It is disappointing that the NMPA would propose dismantling the MMA in this way." Well, that's a direct shot at Israelite, one of the main drivers of the MMA, the 2018 legislation which set up the current publishing payment system in the USA. It's notable coming from someone whose last job before joining DEMA was representing UK songwriters. It's kind of tough to imagine the previous head of DEMA, Washington veteran Garrett Levin, being so direct in calling out the NMPA. Digital Music News ran an article yesterday about Morgan Wallen and the consequences of his having thrown a chair off the roof of Chief's nightclub on Broadway in Nashville a while back. Apparently, the city government denied Wallen the ability to put up a sign in front of his new club on Broadway, which got me thinking about the consequences his antics, which also included the use of an N-word that still stains his reputation, doubtlessly had on his ability to do syncs, commercial appearances, and endorsements. Because it's Finance Friday, I wanted to try and quantify the true cost, so I checked in with an industry expert. He was a little reluctant to be named, but he estimated that each opportunity that Wallen won't be considered for is a $3 to $5 million check, along with other considerations that could drive the overall haul into 8 figures. Even for a guy who's able to sell out football stadiums in the swamps of Jersey, that's a pretty expensive chair toss. And while we're on the subject of lots of zeros, a couple of 9 and 10 figure stories from across the Atlantic. The UK-based MCPS, or Mechanical Copyright Protection Society, announced that it had paid out $260 million in streaming, physical, and international collections in 2023, and that its annual distributions had increased 43% over the last 5 years. And ICE, the UK-based international copyright enterprise which facilitates royalty collection for a host of large partners, announced that it had distributed over 1 billion euros or $1.08 billion to its customers. That's a lot of beans and a lot of rods. And finally, to wrap Finance Friday, Hits Daily Double did some real journalism. That's it. That's the story. Just kidding. Actually, Hits has added 2 real journalists to the fold in the last couple of weeks. Craig Marks, formerly of Billboard, and old friend Jonathan Cohen. Hits reported yesterday that festival headliner payouts have been growing steadily lately and now have reached about $2 million for the top slots at the likes of Bottle Rock, Outside Lands, and Lollapalooza, almost double the pre-pandemic going rate. Hits implies that the risks entailed with these big paydays may have actually been a contributing factor in sinking Pittsburgh's Sudden Thrills Festival, which we reported last week. That's it for Finance Friday. Support for the Unlimited Supply podcast is provided by Roy-Fi. If you need an advance or want to offer advances to your artists or songwriters, Roy-Fi has the best rates in the industry, the fairest terms, and no hidden agendas. Roy-Fi is mission-driven to give artists the independence they need. Give us a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you like what you hear, and tell a friend or 3, preferably 5 times, because every new development in digital music needs to be repeated at least 5 times. To get unlimited supply every single day, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Links are in the show notes, and you can hit me up on LinkedIn or at Lars@Nodisc, that's NODISC.com, if you have a product or service you'd like me to feature on the show, if you have a particular axe to grind, or to make suggestions, challenge us on our dubious assertions, feed us tips, feed us lunch, and tell us what we're missing out on. Remember, in this business, no conflict means no interest. Have a great holiday. We're off Monday. See you Tuesday.